Good job, Tab.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to the Stock Planning and Zoning Commission monthly business meeting Thursday, November 16th, 2023. At we'll call it 7:37. Emily Hebert, can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you, Emily. Go through the roll call. Joe Blue, would you start us off, please?
Yeah, Joe Buller. David Morse.
Dr. Marcotte,
Sid Blanton. Dean Gould. Joseph Badaletta.
Mark Blackmore. Here's we have a form. We do need an alternate. You're the one alternate here tonight. Thank you for joining us here. Brings us to the pledge of allegiance. Join me in the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States. Here's a report. I'd like to thank staff and all the commissioners and all the townspeople for participating in this important process. Hope I'm speaking loud enough. I would like to stress the importance to everyone, importance of colonoscopy. It's laughing matter and not something that everybody wants to speak about, but it's an important matter. If you do for colonoscopy, go get it. If you don't have a good hand, call me up. I'll go get you. Brother passed away on Monday night. So I'm late tonight. Had he looked into it a little bit, maybe he would have had a different outcome. So that's my public service announcement. There are approximately 127 days until spring, and we should like to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving and do it in advance. So. That's the chair's report. Are there any citizens' comments not related to anything that's on the agenda tonight that anyone would like to speak about? Have the meeting minutes to approve. Meetings from November 2nd, as well as October 19th. What is the will of the commission?
I move we set the minutes.
Second. Motion to approve the minutes by David Morrison, who seconded? Seconded by Joe Adelato. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Abstain for David Morris, Mark Blackmer, and Dean Gould abstaining. Is there any opposition? do leave that back. Thank you, everyone. That brings us to our next business and public hearing, and we get wait a couple more minutes, 3 more minutes to start that at 7:45.
Reality could prevail here because a ceasefire is an invitation not only for Hamas to say that they won, but for Hamas to regroup. And I wish that
Everyone attending by via Zoom. Via Zoom. Could keep your microphones muted, that would be appreciated. Thank you. (7:45). Like to resume the public hearing. Application number 6590923, Woodstock Associates. 94 Plainville Road, 3 lot, 3 subdivision. And this was advertised in the Woodstock Villager on October 6th and October 13th. And I will open it up to applicants representative.
Good evening, Pete Parent, professional engineer with CHA representing the applicant.
Thank you, Pete.
So nothing has changed in the design plans since we were here last month. We're still looking to divide off 2 smaller lots from the southern half of the Woodstock Inn property. On-site wells and septics. We did receive wetlands approval earlier this month. We responded to the town engineer, the town consultant engineer's comments. I don't believe we received a letter in response yet, but certainly commissioner is willing, we would certainly accept final resolution of those comments as the condition of approval. I'm happy to answer any questions, concerns, anyone might have. They said really haven't changed anything on the design.
But just a clarification, there were a number of minor changes on the drawings themselves that Amelia pointed out in a letter to you of September 12th.
Yep.
And I just wanted to confirm that those changes were made at the office without the post.
Yes. Yep, absolutely.
We received the review from the design professionals and we received those comments, right?
Yep, and then we responded last month. Yeah, I don't think there was anything, that was a major design change, mostly some small tweaks, additional notes.
The commission members have any questions?
The inland wetlands approval was the last thing we were really waiting for previous meetings.
Yes, we were approved earlier this month.
Like, we were supposed to get a copy of their report and we didn't get. So what was their decision?
So they did grant a permit, but there is some work in the upland review area.
Conditions or bonds or anything like that?
No bond, I believe, no, just their standard conditions. Design change.
I'll have to remind the office to give me a copy of that. So I'm not sure if Jeff has any questions. While we're waiting for him, does anyone in the public have any questions? Does anyone online have any questions? Gotta make sure I'm not missing anyone raising their hand. Wait a moment to see if Jeff has any questions.
Did you get an updated cover letter from David Kelly with the right special permit number reference?
Yes, yeah, I did
I think we did.
send that to you.
Is that the October 19th one?
Yeah, so the date when it changed with the reference, I failed to update the RE from the academy.
So yes, we have the letter dated October 19th, reference in the 659-09-2 requesting subdivision.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I noted in the last meeting that Roger Gale from the WPCA came in and tried to explain why they're requiring on-site septic systems rather than hooking up to the sewer. The state did not require them to have on-site. The state gives the town the option, since this is a rural community, the option of either hooking up to the line or putting in septic system on site. And as I said a month ago, as a result of that, we ultimately have a more expensive lot.
It was noted at the last meeting, Joe, and
Right.
thank you again. Unfortunately, this is the Planning and Zoning Commission, not the WPCA.
Correct.
And I feel your pain. I feel the inn's pain. But
The reason I bring it up is that we spent a lot of time on affordable housing. And this is contrary to our affordable housing.
I can't say that I disagree, Joe. Unfortunately, it's not our wheel.
Right.
So. It was a good presentation, actually, that Roger Gale gave us and linked this. So, sorry that, you're ready to get that information.
Just wanted to add that I see your point, but the current regulations don't require any of the units to be affordable. So I don't think it can be held against them for not making it affordable.
Yeah, I'm sure these are gonna be very expensive houses. I understand that. I'm just saying, if you don't appeal this decision, I mean, ultimately, what this commission could do is vote it down. And, it would go back to the WPCA and they would have to decide whether they want to continue with their existing, decision or not. So there's an appeal process.
Well, I don't know that the commission has the basis for denying it based on that. But I can't advise you, the commission to the legal rights, but I don't know where in the regulations you have the authority to deny it because WPTA didn't approve it.
Well, as a minimum, we could deny it. And it would go to the zoning board of appeals, is that correct?
If this commission makes a decision and someone wants to appeal it, they have to go to court. Only the zoning officer is appealed to the ZBA.
All right.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you. Any other discussion?
All we need is, so we do have the approval.
We just don't have to copy it.
Right, so, the wetlands agency approved it, but we don't have the proof of it, but we did hear that they have.
Right.
With what you were, one of the things you're waiting for.
Joe, just make a motion to close the public hearing. If there are no more questions.
Motion is to close the public hearing, seconded by Martin Blackmore. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That will pass. Thank you, Karen. Thank you. That brings us to agenda item 5, item B. Application number SP 660-10-23, Woodstock Sustainable Farms. 211 Pulpit Rock Hill. Event and waiting facility promoting agri tourism. Public hearing. It was advertised in Woodstock Villager on November 11th and November 10th. Up to the applicant and representative of both.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Norm Tebow, Killingly Engineering Associates, and I'm here representing Woodstock Sustainable Farms this evening. Also with me is the applicant, Mr. Ken Rappaport, who is the owner of the property as well.
I just interrupt for a second, sorry.
Sure.
Just want to make sure, do we need to clarify that we are opening the public hearing at this point?
I thought I did, but yes, we are open to public.
Okay.
For permit number SP 660-10-23 Woodstock Sustainable Farms. Thank you.
You're welcome. I just, for procedural purposes, the assigned advertising, this public hearing was posted in front of the property. And we did notify 500-foot abutters and the notices, the receipts from the certified mail notifications were provided to Delia as well. The address of the property is 211 Pulpit Rock Road, lot 25-3. is the main lot where Mr. Rappaport's house is, and there are some existing barns and outbuildings. He also owns two other parcels, lot 25 and lot 25-1, and portions of the activities associated with this are on these two other parcels as well. We've included those in the application. We did note these three lots were part of the application, even though the address is 211 off Pulpit Rock Road. It is a 28.8 acre parcel, currently used for agricultural uses. And as you said, this is an application for an event facility and to promote agritourism, which Mr. Rappaport will get into a little more in depth. I'm gonna simply address a lot of the technical aspects of this application on behalf of Mr. Rappaport. The access is from Pulpit Rock Road. As you know, this is a town designated scenic road. It is rather narrow and kind of winding. The access for any events that might be held here, the people coming here are going to be directed to come in from Meehan Road. That is the preference of the applicant, is to direct his patrons from that direction. And ultimately 171 to Bassett Hill or Old Hill before going to Meehan. The driveway that is in place, it is a gravel driveway. And the activities are set back well over 1,500 feet from the road and at an elevation difference of about 150 feet compared to where you entered there. It's well screened from the road by vegetation and by virtue of the elevation itself. This existing gravel driveway varies from 14 to 18 feet in width. There are shoulders on both sides, grassed shoulders up and down that allow for the passage of two-way traffic in the event that people are either arriving or leaving at the same time. They also have the ability, buses can turn onto this from Pulpit Rock Road as well. I did demonstrate by a turning template in the application that we can accommodate buses turning in there, and which they do presently. Many times, Mr. Rappaport has educational seminars there. They bring students, they discuss the virtues of the agritourism, sustainable farming, things of that nature. You know, as well as promoting the agritourism portion of it, it is going to be educational as well. I think, you know, based upon, you know, some of the things, some of the letters that we've received and we've read, and some of the things that have been posted on social media, I think, you know, the two main things are, number one, certainly access to the site, whether, you know, these events are going to cause some issues on Pulpit Rock Road, where you have these larger events. One of the uses that is discussed are weddings. Typically, the weddings are going to be no more than 150 people, 125 to 150. Also, the wedding aspect of this particular operation is minimal, 6 to 8 events a year for the weddings. And the purpose of the weddings is to raise some money to further promote the agritourism and the sustainable farming portion of the business. Many of the other events they have here are much smaller in nature. Hearth dinners for anywhere from 8, 12, 15 people that are held within Mr. Rappaport's home itself. He has star watching, typically 30 to 40 people for things like that. They may have barbecues, same thing again, 30 to 40 people for things of that nature. So the bulk of the activities on the site and that will be utilized for this particular facility will be much smaller in nature, and the wedding aspect of it is a very small percentage of what this whole application is all about. There is an existing gravel parking area, about 2/3 of the way up the driveway on the western side of the drive. There are also, we're showing areas where cars can pull off. There's some flatter terrain, grass areas here. There's also parking up by the house in the existing barns. There are paved surfaces there in the event that ADA parking is required. And for those instances, the ADA parking, the patrons will be transported down to this area here. There's an existing fenced-in area where for any of these larger events, they will be putting up a tent for weddings and so forth. And the people that need to be transported there will be transported and brought there. Portable restrooms will be utilized for these types of events. The events will be catered. There is no cooking on site for these types of events, but once again, it will be these weddings will promote the sustainable farming portion of the business. Field raised and free range chicken and pork and so forth that Mr. Rappaport puts a lot of his efforts into. In the past, they have had some larger events, well over 200 people here. Just for the stargazing or for large chicken barbecues and so forth. Like I said, these things are pretty small in nature. Many times for these types of things, people are bussed in, and we don't have as many cars as you might anticipate for something of this nature. So the other uses that they will be promoting here are regenerative farm tours. Typically, once again, 30 to 45 people, which includes the Azaluna Farms packaged meals. They have school and university tours, spring, summer, and fall annual events, farm tours, pasture-raised chicken barbecues, acoustic music, children's games, conservation, sustainability, and biodiversity with Wyndham Land Trust. An event that they call Feast of the Field, what they do a couple of times a year, which is 50 to 75 person long table, formal 5-course meal, catered in conjunction with Johnson & Wales University College of Food Innovation and Technology, and Tufts University, Friedman School of Nutrition Science and Policy, celebrating the intersection between nutrient-dense food and long-term health. As I said, the weddings, up to 8 ceremonies a year, 50 to 150 attendees at these weddings, small private events like the hearth dinners, reunions, things of that nature. And then things as well like glamping and stargazing. Once again, these will be in the 30 to 40 person range, where this particular property is well distant from any kind of light interference. And in the evening stars on this property are quite spectacular. And it's something that Mr. Rappaport is quite proud of and wants to promote as well. So with that being said, I'd like to turn this over to Ken and have him discuss a little bit about his organization and his business and how he looks to promote that with this particular facility. Thank you.
I gotta stand up and talk. However you'd like.
Just state your name.
Yeah, Ken Rappaport.
Thank you.
So, yeah, no, I came in here earlier. I mean, ultimately, what we're doing really is combining, we're doing about 10 years doing regenerative agriculture, which really combines, really taking, making really high quality proteins from primarily livestock. Right now in New England, we're essentially
This year we'll have done 8,000 pasture raised chicken. All pasture raised. With about 125 hogs, pigs, about 100 sheep, and about 500 layers. And, essentially it was called Woodstock Sustainable Farms when I started the thing. And the idea was to put different, create, kind of joint kind of, helping other farms and, growing the whole farm aspect. And then I ran into Dr. George Saperstein, Professor Emeritus, Cummings School of Veterinary Medicine. In Georgia in 2007, it created got grant money from Ted Kennedy, Joe Lieberman, Rosa DeLauro was actually still continues to be down. Congressman. And they got grant money, and with that they created Azalona. The whole idea was to create greater number of farms in New England, create more regionalization, because it takes almost an act of God to get a sheep at one point between Connecticut and Maine. Getting each state at one point there was a lot of agriculture. Also was there to connect rural dwellers with agriculture, and a couple of farm tours. And so essentially George got it, and really what we started to do was work with the Cummings School of Veterinary Medicine. We're now actually working with. We have there's a letter I want to address this, so there's some misunderstandings. We took the name and bought it from called Azalona, and was a brand. And now Azalona, which has an R&D kitchen that's actually situated at Johnson Wales University. And what we're there is creating macro and micronutrient balance foods, which are high in nutrient dense products to really help people's health. There's a whole, really a big push towards food as medicine. The idea that there's a Tufts University also has the Friedman School of Nutrition Science and Policy. The dean of that was Rishma Farian. And they actually had the second White House conference. And, the first one was done 50 years ago in 1969, when they saw basically people with starvation, rickets and such in Alabama, Mississippi, and they made the decision we need to make food cheaper and more plentiful. But what they did at that time, by extending shelf life, they put more chemicals into our food. And they did things that, in hindsight now, what was created a lot of metabolic diseases in our children and ourselves. They say close to 75% of people are walking around with some sort of internal inflammation in their body. And so they had the second White House conference on hunger, nutrition, and health. And we have a video. I don't know, it might be helpful to play it to maybe some people have seen it, but give you an idea of what we're doing. No, not that. Is the other one? So yeah, so I mean, so again, what happened? I came in here. We started to do a farm tours. People are coming up there, and they said, "We really." Oh, go ahead. Any sound to it? So this was hosted in Washington. We were at we were actually over at Johnson Wales University. We had at amphitheater. It was really pretty cool, pretty interesting. And there's a lot of, it was all funded a lot by the Rockefeller Foundation. It was a big push today. They're saying $23.5 trillion we could save by changing the way we eat.
With a jump passion to help people find the joy in color and mood. And very excited to be partnered with Azaluna. When you start to feel better, whether it's nutrition or movement, those two things are so powerful in creating consistent motivation. Really, the dental analogy is so on point because it's our first glimpse into the beginnings of chronic disease. We can see our hearts and our livers and our organs, so where our we probably be paying attention. Anything that's worth something, and we're talking about your health, so that's your life. It's worth that everyday effort.
Yeah, I'll just tie it further back to this case, right? That the week is well, I think the palate is so it's obvious that salt sugar is that made up clean for different.
By purchasing local foods, you know where they're produced. It's a whole ecosystem of healthy soil, healthy animals, healthy and happy consumers, and happy families. That's the secret of Azaluna.
So again, it's kind of low and maybe difficult to hear, but so what we ended up doing is we started to look at schools, universities want to come out and see the farm. So I was told like I need to go in with a special permit. When we did that, the comment was, well, what else do you want to do? So we started to look and say, all right, it'd be nice to fund some of this because I mean, there's not a lot of money in the education component, but it's super important. And we were having, Johnson Wales University people, we've had Tufts University people come out there. And, we want to promote that and I want to play by the rules. So I wanted to come in and ask for a special permit to do this. So I wasn't doing things that shouldn't be done. We've had some people up there. What's really fascinating to me is, and these are probably within an hour away, hour and a half away. I mean, when I ask the kids, I say, how many kids have actually seen a live chick? Maybe 50%. A layer, that we call layers, but I asked them how many have seen broilers, which are meat birds. It's like none of them. And then you ask them how many, I make the joke and say, how many have seen a pig or a sheep that isn't talking on Disney? And again, it's about 10%. So they're just so disconnected. And if we're going to try to change the, again, $23.5 trillion, you got to start the youth. And you got to start them getting to understand what's involved, where we really have 4 projects. We when the kids come out, we talk about soil, water, and energy management. So they understand about regenerative agriculture, the idea that you can actually have these plants bring carbon back into the soil. We talk about sustainability. So the idea is that, you're using the whole animal. Again, a lot of people, it's about sustainability long-term and making sure the dollars you're putting in out there are helping keep the planet well. It's talking about food, where it comes from, how it's produced, how it's distributed. Chicken McNuggets don't grow on trees, right? I mean, so that I think is important. And then last is animal science. And anybody who's been in farmers on this group, when you deal with animals, there's a lot of, we may not like it, but a lot of our traits, you can see yourself in pigs and chickens and sheep, and the kids really enjoy it and they walk away from it. So we want to do more of that. And then part of it is, people have come up and said, hey, they'd like to go to a wedding or something like that. And again, we used to have, unfortunately, like almost 30 years I've been here. My wife died colon cancer 23 years ago. Raised my 2 kids up there, but we started afterwards. We used to have first Friday of the month parties. We had 150, 200 people come up there, because the kids wanted socialization. We really didn't have any problems. I mean, it's not, we got, we used to bring in some barbecue private party. And so again, I don't see a lot. I would say one of the biggest issues, and I think there was a letter that came out in people's mailboxes. I ended up with one of them in another mailbox that I have. The biggest issue is we really want to come through Meeting Road, and that, the corner of Taylor on the west part of Pulpit Rock is a bad corner. And years ago when I was doing these parties, I actually had our first selectman, Jay Swan, was the constable. I used to hire him to go down. Because you talk about a buzzkill to a party is somebody getting an accident coming in a party. And he used to stand there just on the initial thing, right, where people would come, because people would leave at different times. And so for 20 years, I've been bugging the first selectman to do something about that corner. And recently, Jay's actually went to the state and they're looking at doing basically putting a sign up that would prohibit, when you're going eastbound on 171, prohibit making left-hand turn into Pulpit Rock. Which just makes sense. I always say just put a no entry because if you're going the other way, it's not a problem. So it sounds like they're going to do it. in how long the state happens. And I would think that if we did an event, I would probably put somebody down there just to make sure people aren't coming in there, or if they're gonna make that turn. You know, I'd probably have to hire a constable until the sign comes up if I'm gonna do some of these. I mean, some of these weddings that we're looking at are probably 30, 40 people. We're not, again, this is micro farming. We're not looking for big events. And I know that, I think there's a letter put out by hundreds of people coming through here. That's just not the intent of this. But we saw it as, you know, we'd like to do some charity events for the Wyndham Land Trust or for the Last Green Valley. I mean, it's amazing up there. I mean, most of us, everybody sees good stars out here. This is, you know, I'm living on what was called Racetrack Hill, Gin Acres for anybody who's around. You know, it's a great view. And you get this panoramic view, and we'd, you know, like we really talk about it. But the only thing we want to do is do some low lights that would go down so you could, you know, walk back to their cars and stuff, or have a little flashlights. Let me see what else in the letter that was sent. Yeah, did that letter go in? Did the letter that I sent you, those two letters get entered in, or was I got copies of that?
I didn't, you have a copy and you share them with the commission.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, let me do this first, I guess. Get this. Sorry, so, anyway, this was, you know, it's kind of good. I mean, the letter, somebody had, sort of a, unauthored letter that came around, it's getting handed out now. And to asking people to come here, and they said a wedding venue and wedding attraction, really, again, the whole idea is to do educational tours there. I mean, that's really what I want. If you said, don't do weddings, it wouldn't, honestly, do I want to work Bridezilla or anybody else? I'm not even interested in it. But I think it's an important part, at least of paying for things. And you know, we talk about farming, how difficult it is to farm in New England. Why, since 1860, farming has been going down here in New England, because you can't compete. For me, especially with livestock, what happens is we're shipping grains in everywhere. Right, most of the grains are made out in the Midwest, and they have to be shipped in, and the diesel costs of where they are super expensive. Then you have, you know, the other thing is processing, right? So today, for us to process our chickens, we have to drive 4.5 hours to Augusta, Maine, to process our chickens. There's no other facilities. Buffoni's, which is Rhode Island, can't do the number of birds. And people, and the kids come out, and they go, wow, this is large. I'm going, 8,000 birds. Our hope is to grow 200 new farms in New England by 2027 by doing a hub and spoke model. And you couldn't really hear it up, but the hub, which is what Woodstock Sustainable Farms, has all the equipment. And then we have, this past year, we actually had 4 people raising 20 pigs in different farms. So and the goal is on those spoke farms, to be a spoke farm, we want them to be allowed to have elementary schools and middle schools come out, and we would bring someone from URI or from UConn to explain to the kids something about it, to start to get them tied in. Because I think if we're going to make a more humane society, we need to get people to understand animal, livestock. They have to understand their soil. And again, when we've done some comparison between our food and our chicken, you know, compared to a Tyson or Purdue. I mean, Tyson, Purdue, they look big because they're injected with water and other chemicals and fluids. And so if you ever notice when chicken one, it doesn't taste like anything. And then sometimes by the time you end up cooking it, it's just all dried out because you're steaming it and cooking it when you do this. We don't add this kind of additives. Tyson and Purdue will change, but they won't change until consumers start to demand it. And they won't start to demand it until they get educated. So really, we're on the leading edge of this. I mean, I'm working with some of the best universities in the world. We're super excited about what we're doing. Now, I know, again, traffic's an issue. Again, the buses coming in, I don't think is a big deal. We're not talking about a ton of it. You know, we're talking maybe one a week where we do a farm tour. We take them out there, and again, they get educated. We might give them Azaluna, which is the kitchen over in Johnson Wales University, you can order them online. Not advertising here, but you can order, and basically you just get pre-cooked meals that are fresh, put them in a microwave or an oven in a certain amount of time. You can eat them, they're all ready to go, and they're super healthy for you. No chemicals, no preservatives, you know, really make your a whole lot healthier. We're also creating some really interesting, consumer product goods like pasture-raised bone broth. They're super, really, really healthy for you. So we're gonna continue to innovate on that side, as well as getting the kids to understand how their nutrition impacts them long term. So, I don't think there's anything else. Sure, oh yeah, so some of the other things, so the letter talked about, and neighbor, the roads having hundreds of party codes. Again, I don't see that number of doing it, we're not running like, this is not Woodstock in New York. We'll have, the Hells Angels coming out there and have massive parties. I mean, we've had big parties up there. And again, 150 people, 200, I mean, I see, they'll probably, if something starts, and usually in the morning, or let's say 10 o'clock, we'll do tours through the day. Certainly people come at a certain hour. To me, that's where traffic a little bit, I'd hire a constable to go down there just to make sure that they don't come in that route. And, but again, we're not doing tons of these things, but I just gotta seek permission. Yeah, some other questions, I mean, the applicant may spearhead an attempt to stop the developer from building homes directly across from the entrance. Just to be clear, the development that was under question, it's got us 20 years ago at this point or nearly, was on west of Taylor Brook. They were going to put a 50-foot wide macadam road into what's essentially a 20% rise with a crested top of the hill. And ultimately, it wasn't so much traffic that was the issue, it was environmental issues. There's a major vernal pool up there and some other issues that came into play. And so at the end of the day, we offered at the time a developer to buy it, and we wanted to buy it earlier, and he wanted much more than we could pay. And at the end of the day, we bought it, and I think at the time people were saying I was going to build a Dunkin' Donuts on the road. So we donated to Wyndham Land Trust. We never had the idea of doing Dunkin' Donuts on a dirt road. So, it wasn't across the road. So there's, sort of just the idea of NIMBY and all this stuff. Mr. Rapper wants to subject all the families in the area to hundreds of weekly party goers and in traffic from our farm equipment. Really, our farm stuff, we're doing deliveries, we'll go directly to Whole Foods from there with a reefer van. We've got grain trucks coming in. Again, I don't think there's a huge amount of traffic and coming in around there, but that's just sort of, I guess, my own take on it. And I think what else is interesting? Yeah, I think it was interesting though, they did stick it in as I went to the post, they stuck it in everybody's postal box, and for whoever wrote it was unsigned, and it's actually a federal offense to stick these things in the mailbox. We're just trying to play by the rules on our end. They could have mailed these things out, so a little bit, but I understand the timing of it. Are there any questions on that at all? And I think the other one, we have a letter from Wyndham Land Trust, or the Andy who works for Wyndham Land Trust. He wrote a letter just saying, from his perspective, that it wasn't really wouldn't impact what we're doing there. We're the steward of the land. We take care of the trails, we take care of it, and we've now got almost 280 acres because we're leasing Bob Anderson's old place, and it's got fixed up. We're raising sheep in a barn, and it's really become a nice place. And hay in the fields, and we're improving the fields, the quality of the fields, we manage them. So I'm pretty happy with what we're doing. And we're starting now to push all of our meats out into specialty stores throughout New England. And we're also pushing some of our meats into Johnson Wales and Tufts University have come up with a joint curriculum providing culinary science along with nutritional science. So they want to buy some pasture-raised meats and produce to be able to basically teach the kids, how real food should taste, what they need to do with it. So I'm excited to be in this area. It does feel like sometimes we're pushing a rock up a hill. Having some events happening, we wanted, like again, stargazing, all this. Again, I suppose there's a way, a lot of people say, just go ahead and do it. I don't want to do it. I want to go through the proper channels and come here and again, address any issues that need to be addressed. I certainly have in 30 years, I'm concerned about the moral character and safety of the road. And that's why, like I said, I hired a constable myself. Hopefully, Jay Swan, it's kind of cool. He's hopefully going to get something fixed because there's been so many accidents there. That they just need to not make a left. I suppose those people that know what they're doing can still make a left, and I don't, they'll stick to console and get tickets out, but if you know what you're doing, it's fine. And certainly, I've seen people just drive across here, completely crazy. So, that's about it.
Yeah, I'd like to, that letter that I just passed out to the commission, for the benefit of the public, I'd just like to read that into the record. This is dated November 14th, 2023. To whom this may concern, I have visited Woodstock Sustainable Farms and toured their operation. I was very impressed with how everything is managed. I have over 25 years of experience managing area preserves and working in the land conservation field. From what Woodstock Sustainable Farms is proposing to do on their property, it is my expert opinion there will be no impacts on the neighboring Wyndham Land Trust Preserve. I am very familiar with this preserve. That's signed Andy, I think it's Rozenkowitz, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, and thank you. And so, yeah, he submitted that letter for the record.
And I think the one thing, it's interesting, and again, I think 150 people, I don't see having a lot, but a lot of you may know who Jose Andres is, the chef who's in the World Central Kitchen. He feeds, he sort of drops in hot spots all over the world. I've been on the Food Innovation Council of Tufts. He's part of that. Again, they're super excited. There's a whole group of people that feel that if we could just start to educate people, what I'm trying to do here is really spread this thing out. So the goal is to have eventually 10 hub and spoke models throughout New England, of which we could probably grow 200,000 birds in a year. Now, just to give you some sense of scale, there's the birds we buy are not your jumbo Cornish hens with what 90% or 99% of people eat. It's a Pioneer brand, which is a combination of a Delaware chicken developed in the 1950s and a naked neck chicken, and they're really robust and they grow out and they grow well, but it takes 9 weeks to reach weight. So what happens is you give them grain, it costs you more grain, but they're healthier for you, higher omega-3s and such. But they're raising them out in Arkansas, and they can do 135,000 a week. So there's really, why? Because their processing is 5 minutes away, and their grain fields are 15 minutes away. We can't compete with them, nor do we want to. But what we want to be is what's termed an agroecological lighthouse. We're the only advantage we have in farming is we're close to the people that are consumers, and no consumers. I went out to Bentonville, Arkansas to see this operation because I'm interested in it. It was 30-something hours to get there. It was horrendous. It was a big trip to get there. People are not going to do that. Will they drive from Boston an hour and a quarter? Will they drive from Hartford? Will they drive from Providence? Will they drive up to New York? Probably not on a Friday night on 95. But the idea of coming up and seeing these kind of things are to me, super important part. And our hope is someone like the company that's doing 135,000, that's where I get my birds from. They're interested in working with us to promote their own products. So we've got Forbes magazine. There's a lot of people have written about what we're doing. So hopefully we can accomplish it. Some days I feel like I can, and other days I feel like we can't. But we might have an event where we have a Jose Andres or something like that, and have a group of people up there with a acoustic band. Make it fun, right? So these people coming up from New York City would see what's going on. So that's kind of what we're looking at doing. We kind of throw a mash. I don't think we're doing all those things. We're just going to kind of play it by ear, see whatever promotes the farming part of it, and obviously the food productions in over in Johnson Wales. And actually, the thing that's really kind of cool about it, they have a 45,000 square foot building over there that we're trying to raise money, about 18 to 25 million, to build essentially a food manufacturing distribution training center, which would support those 200 farms in New England and other farms, so that you can create a product or a value. And again, you're making a great product. It's healthy for the consumer, and it really will change the dynamics of the way we are. Because I think your $23.5 trillion is a lot of money. I think what's kind of cool about this is being here in Woodstock, that if we can actually be at the epicenter of this, I don't think we'll get overrun, but it's it's the one, it's one of the great things about being in this area, that you're still close enough to rural people. But I mean, everyone likes farming here, but I will tell you that one of the things that's interesting, why we want to keep it on a small scale, micro farming, there are a lot of communities. We're we're a farm-friendly community. It doesn't always mean my neighbors are farm-friendly. You know, and we're trying to accommodate their issues, but there are places, other places in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, that say no chickens, no pigs, no this. But if you took 20 pigs on an area that's in 2 acres, there's not a use. There's a great for the kids to get educated and see it, and I think anybody who's come up and brought their kids out to see what's going on, it's you know, it's a great experience for them. So, other than that, it's kind of what we're doing. If there's any questions about.
Thank you, Mr. Rappaport. Thank you, Mr. Tebow. Open it up to commissioners for any questions for the applicant or any discussion. No?
Yes, thank you, and thanks for the information, Ken. Just maybe a couple of quick questions, in your handout that you had sent us, for sure. There was, under regenerative farming, there was a comment by 2024 to expand regional livestock production by 120 farm enterprise. Just running farm enterprises, those are spokes.
Spokes, right, and a spoke just does a single, like you're just gonna do chickens, and we actually provide you all the equipment. So the goal here, to actually get grant money through nonprofits would provide that. Right now, I funded the entire thing because we want them to see a model of it.
And where are the spokes?
The spokes, and they were some in Foster, Rhode Island, some were up in Massachusetts. And again, you'd like to say, if you're gonna be a farmer for me, nascent farmer, you're not, we pay you a small amount of money, not on labor, but for leasing the land. So you get something. With the pigs, I think you get $1 a day. So you're keeping them for 60 days, you know, so you get $20 for 60 days. You can basically, you feed them, care for them, we drop off the grain, you use all our equipment, we do all the pigs, we pick them up, we make it easy on them. But you get to, a lot of people want animals because they believe it's important to show their kids what's going on. So rather than them just having their kids learn it, help the community. So, and that's kind of where we want to go.
So that was going to my point, that spoke farms are not necessarily all in Woodstock. They're
No.
scattered throughout.
No, we want,
Connecticut.
yeah, we want to
Okay.
be spread out because it's an educational play.
Right.
As much as any.
And on the summary that you had put, the narrative of what you were doing, identifying the different events that you were planning. As a rough count, I came up with about 36 to 43 events annually, without counting the small private event and glamping and stargazing weekend kind of activities. So
They weren't set up as an annual. I didn't say this is what we want to do annually. That's, they
well,
just asked me and said, no, we just threw out kind of what I said. What might you want to do then? I don't know what we're gonna do, to be perfectly honest with you. So, you know, I don't see us doing all those. We're busy farming. I mean, there's like, most of it's the agricultural tours, but there are people who come up, we might do an event, 1 or 2. We haven't really decided how many we want to have. I don't imagine us having that many. But we felt like there was an option. Again, I was told in town, I can't, you know, we have to go for a special permit. There's no, so we wanted permission to do something here without just doing it and then being, you know, running outside of what is supposed to be.
which is the appropriate way to do things, despite
Right.
comments to you to explore that.
I think I can make it, clarify that as well. You know, if we started going through this process and I got to know Ken and, you know, Ken has a lot of great ideas and a lot of vision of what he'd like to do out here. So anytime I'd have a conversation with Ken, you know, something would come up, oh, you know what, why don't you put that down too? Because, you know, that's something we might do. It's something we might do. So even though there may be, you know, a dozen, 15 different things on here, he just wants to be able to do any of them. It doesn't mean he's always going to be doing all these events all the time, but these are the types of things that he envisions for the property.
And that's fine. Just that a special permit ends up running with the land.
Absolutely.
And may not be the only person thinking about doing this on that property. It leads to the concerns, I think, that I would have, and maybe other commissioners would have, and neighbors would have about traffic. Obviously,
Yes.
more events that are being planned and scheduled for a site suggest more traffic. So that's why I was just trying to get a rough idea of how many overall events on an annual basis might take place there.
Yeah, and I think that was that is probably the, you know, the single item that Ken and I have discussed the most throughout this, the traffic. And I mean, I do enough of these things and, you know, I certainly understand the concerns of neighbors and how it might impact them and their concerns. I've permitted, 3 other, wedding events. I did, Stonehurst at Hampton Valley, which is a very big operation. We heard a lot of the same concerns throughout the permitting process, for that. They do 3 to 4 weddings a week, year round, at that place. And
Fortunately, they're all for Route 6.
they're all at Route 6, exactly. But
Correct.
the property itself, they have neighbors toward, you know, not too far from where the activities are held. And people were concerned with noise and light, and things of that nature. So those are the types of things, even though, yes, from an accessibility standpoint, you certainly have Route 6 there. But there are other issues too that they had to contend with, that they had to, you know, kind of go through a trial period where people saw that, you know, these concerns that they had, or these worries, really weren't a big issue.
That's it for now. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Is there any other commissioners to speak? That's it?
Just like you're hoping to grow your business, you're hoping that the demand for your products grow. I'm just wondering whether our approval can grow with that. I know you don't want to come back here regularly for greater levels of approval, but there's a lot of uncertainty about what could happen. Property, if we just give you blank approval to do as many of whatever as you want. And like Joe said, Mr. Rappaport, someday you're not going to be there anymore, and we won't be here, and future owner of your property will still have these approvals. We certainly trust you and your judgment and your land ethic, but that next owner may be a very different person. So what I'm trying to say is, do you think you would be comfortable with putting numbered limits on the type of activities that we allow, which may seem a little constraining right now, but at a trial basis, set those limits, grow your business and your activities for a year or 2 or 3. And if it's fantastic for you and the neighbors and for us, you can step everything up a few notches and allow it to expand.
Yes, honestly, the biggest thing I want to make sure is that we do the education. You know, the kids coming up there. And hopefully that seems like a no-brainer. Typically, they're want to come with a short bus. They typically don't go with a large bus. They don't get that many kids coming up. And so we want to be able to make sure we can have them come out for those type of events. So that's critical. You know, and I don't know, obviously I'd like to have it like, I don't want to be doing farm tours all the time because we won't have time to get our work done. But, you know, whether we do one on a Saturday, you know, or like you're going to get schools coming out through the week, you know, and then sometimes schools don't want to take time out of their day. So we'd like to be able to say, okay, on Saturday, make it an open thing where first Saturday of every time you sign up and we'll take 35 or 40, you know, participants. So you could sign up and they would maybe get a meal. So again, that would be something we would advertise, you know, as part of our client base that says, hey, they might come from New York, they might come from Boston, they might be coming from Providence, which just be interesting. I mean, I don't have accommodations. I'm not looking to do that. But you know, maybe they stay. You know, I talked to the end who's doing this stuff. I talked to them, you know, can I do it to when they need people? Because midweek they're busy on the weekends with weddings. Again, weddings are the least interesting in my aspect. They're the biggest revenue generators. So I know when we talked about it internally on events, if I'm going to get somebody to run events, because I don't want to do it personally from a standpoint, coordinating with that. When we looked at the economics of it, we had to do a certain amount of weddings, just pay for Joe to become an event coordinator. Otherwise, you know, it's just not economical. So again, I'd be fine with limiting the number, which is what I think we said, 6 to 8 weddings in a year. And again, I'm not saying we could say 3 or 4, whatever. It just becomes harder as an economic model to assign or hire somebody For the weddings, we know for sure can create money. Those same person who coordinate all the education for us, which we really don't get money. Right, so that's just the grabs piece. And a couple of events that we might do for media or people that are interested, or Jose Andres, and they want to come out with people to celebrate what they're doing and prance in front of the camera, do TikToks and all the other stuff that occurs today.
Just for myself, maybe the rest of the commission, it'd be nice to know what you're thinking in terms of numbers for each of these different types of events. So it's not just 6 to 8 weddings, but stargazing and the chefs and the kids and not that I need to know that number right now, but that's putting that out there. Complete picture would help us quite a bit.
Well, I think you may have gone some of this part way back in the day. So the question is, do I talk to, we've talked to the last week about and be able to say, okay, we want to have an event where people come up and bring a lawn chair or something. And they can sit down there, look out over the sky and I don't know. I don't know. We could limit it for sure. Right? I mean, and if they do this and they want to raise money for they're all nonprofits. So we say, come on up, pay $25, whatever it is, and they come up and they spend a few hours watching the sun and then they go. Again, we've had a fair amount of events, not because I haven't been here in say 5 to 7 years, but all. We used to have a fair amount of stuff. And again, I don't think there was really any, we never really got any complaints at all about traffic or anything else. We had a lot of people.
And the school events, do most of those participants come on a bus?
Yes. They're coming on a bus and that's.
And on Palmer Rock Road, school buses for the elementary school come once a day, the academy and the middle school come once a day?
No, they don't go, no, they're not going on the.
School buses don't go up and down Palmer Rock Road or Meeting Road? That's true, all right, never mind. Thank you.
Yeah, and I don't know why that necessarily is the state requirement, town requirements. I don't know. I know that we've had Johnson Wales came out and they brought.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just had a question about the road itself. It is a gravel road, right? Pretty narrow. Are there times of the year when that's pretty much impassable due to frost coming out or anything? Frost coming out of the
Yeah,
ground?
you know what, I've always gone on the road, no matter what, but I mean, we're not doing these. First off, because we're doing pasture raised animals, they're almost all gone now. People are not, they're gonna be coming out to the farm when it's active, which is really gonna push us probably into May, June. So you're only looking at May, June, July, August, September, October, November. Our last slaughter date, I think our sheep are going the 27th or 28th of this month. After that point, we breed our sheep up there, which I think we'd see smaller groups that would come up and see lambing, and it's obviously an interesting process. But the lambing in that case is not coming necessarily up to the farm. That we're
Lambing's usually in March, right? March or April.
Yeah. Right, but we're actually lambing over there on at Troll Knoll, which is on Joy Road. So they were coming in, but that's not, again, I don't even know how farming people coming out to see farm tours, whether that even needs a requirement of special permit, but I just thought in this case it made sense to do it when we're coming up there. There's some small events that inside the house we can handle about 24 people. So they might come up catering, we have a conference room and table in there. And, sometimes people come up and say they want to go camping, glamping, whatever they want to do. So some of those things we want to be able to promote those as part of, part of a kind of a community of people who are considering, what they eat and how they eat and all of that. So there's you know, there seems to be a lot of interest in that. We want to just take advantage of that to help, you know, to help the business, but I really help the community, help the world get in a better place. It's,
You haven't had any problem with feed trucks coming up in there and stuff?
no, sir.
Okay.
You say you have feed trucks, how big are the trucks coming up that are doing feed?
We've got tractor trailer side trucks come up there numerous times, you know. 48, 53-foot trucks. Never had a problem, just plenty of room to turn around. When Rawson used to come up there delivering stuff, that if you were a new driver, they used to not tell them and they would back all the way up. I said, you must be the new guy, because they, you know, they laugh afterwards, but yeah, there hasn't ever been a problem getting
I
up.
was more concerned about the all the process. Personal process. How much?
I mean, coming off of Meehan Road, the pavement, really, there's a very short distance from Meehan Road. Or sorry, when you have Meehan, it's paved, and it's paved, when you take a left, it's still paved right there, and basically it's just, I don't know how many feet, you know, that is, engineer?
Well, I know from Meehan Road, to the entrance, it's 2,200 feet from Meehan Road, to your property entrance. I don't know how much of that is paved,
Well, it's paved all of that, it's more than,
probably more than half of it, I would say.
about 3/4.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, people coming in that way, it's really not, that road is actually in pretty good shape.
Just wanna clarify that. Useful to discuss the traffic, but agriculture is a permitted use. He doesn't need a special permit for the agricultural use of land.
That's good.
But just to clarify, educational tours, events do require the special.
That's why he's here, as
Yeah,
part of
okay.
the weddings and the other events.
Any other comments from commissioners, questions?
I'll come back afterward, but
So I have a
other
question,
people's.
I could ask a question.
Yes, sir.
So because this may be confusing my side, so the agricultural tours. Touring people that come see the farm. Is that considered part of the agricultural uses of what's going on? I'm just kind of curious, I mean, again. That's the primary use, is that now not a special permit issue? Or, I mean, I understand that they're glamping and they're doing some other things, and I think, you know, certainly weddings are not, you know, I think most people would be interested in there are going to be people who are into sustainability and all the rest of the stuff, but I understand that that's not, but just the tours and children, college kids.
Letting our expert look at the regulations.
We go by the definition that we have of agriculture, and I'm just reading it right now. I can either read it out loud or search for anything to do with that. Like, can you read it out loud? It's kind of long.
Unless everybody else wants to hear it out loud.
So when people, so periodically, so when people put in farm stand and sell it, is that now required, is that part of agricultural? Or is that part like, you know, somebody like Treehouse Brewery? Did that stand, did that go under agricultural? And they you know, basically that's part of agriculture. But not that I necessarily want to, you know, and I know they put the road any other way, that's why I'm down your place. I don't want to have a farm stand and no driving people coming. That's crazy. So I was looking, every farm in New England needs to look at being creative and how they're going to earn revenue, otherwise you're not gonna farm. You've got to, whether it's farm stands or farm, events or other things, agritourism, in Europe, it happens all the time. And we as a, if we want farms to be in New England, which people like them, but if there's, there's so many farms that don't survive and don't do well, or it becomes subsistence farming, which is not fair for someone to farm and basically just survive.
I hear what you're saying, and currently the zoning regulations depends on, or refers back to the state's statutory definition of agriculture and agricultural uses. And it's rather long, but it includes the handling, planting, drying, packing, packaging, processing, freezing, grading, storing, or delivering to storage or to market, or to a carrier, or transportation to market, or for direct sale. And I think the direct sale would be farm stand.
After listening to Mr. Rappaport's presentation, I personally don't have any problem with what he's gonna do up there. I guess we go back to what Sid had. It's the fact that when you give somebody a special permit to do this, this person may be very disciplined on making sure that things are good and constables and all that, but we do, you give a man a CDL to drive a little truck, he can drive a big truck too, which maybe he's not qualified to drive, but he has a license to drive. So it becomes a concern by giving a special permit without putting some restrictions that says there will be no more than 50 cars forcing the hand of carpooling, busing, or something like that to make it safer on the road. And in control, or a limitation of people to try to keep the, the size of the activity to a certain size without putting those stipulations in that can prove themselves well and then move on to a different level down the road. I think we need to somehow make those, I think what you're doing is a good idea. I'm very supportive. I think the town should be very supportive of that because it supports what we do here in this farming community. But we also have to live here too. So I think putting some sort of caps on things to start with is a good way to make this move forward. I think. Thank you, Tim. Any other commissioners? Yeah, we'll open it up to the public.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if I may, Garth Evans, 287 Pulpit Rock Road.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you for the work you do. First of all, if I may, I have a letter from Mr. Stephen Rapp that I would like to read into the record. Dear Woodstock Planning and Zoning Commission, I would ask that this letter be read into the record because I am out of state on business. My wife and I reside at 204 Collins Road, and we are surrounded by Wyndham Land Trust. It appears to be mostly controlled by Ken Rappaport. When it comes to noise pollution, Mr. Rappaport has no concern for his neighbors. He has left large dogs outside at night and bark all night long and wake us up constantly. There were times when we would not get a restful sleep for weeks. We have called Mr. Rappaport numerous times about the dog barking and destroying our right to live in peace and quiet. But he will have none of it. He has absolutely no problem with his dog barking all night and destroying his neighbor's life. His response to our request is always met with, I have a right to farm and my dogs have a right to do their job. His opinion is totally acceptable to destroy a neighbor's peaceful enjoyment of their home. He cares solely for himself, not for his neighbor. We all live in Woodstock for its natural beauty and quiet tranquility. I urge you to vote no and not allow Mr. Rappaport control of his neighbor's right to live in peace and quiet. You're free to contact me if you require anything further. Thank you, Stephen and Rep.
Thank you.
And I would like to speak on my own behalf, if I may. First of all, I would like assurance that proper notice of this application has been given, because I only found out by accident. Who chanced to going north on the road and seeing a fourth sign outside Mr. Radford's property. Assuming that proper notice has been given, I mean, we consider ourselves to butters property, Mr. Radford's property. And I believe we should have received some direct notice. We never did. There are a number of people unable to attend this meeting because apparently, the notice that has been given seems not to have been sufficient. I'm not sure it has been, legally appropriate. The primary concern that I have is about weather. And we've heard a lot of wonderful information and all the good work that Mr. Radford is doing, but I understand that this is an application to use his property for, amongst other things, wedding. I have some experience of properties being used as wedding venues. It is extremely lucrative, but it is also a very problematic issue, largely because of the noise that is generated. It seems that young people these days like to have very loud music. I don't understand it, but they do, and that's been the case of 2 recent weddings I've been to. I couldn't enjoy them because the music was so loud. Our experience with this is in the Hudson Valley, where my wife has an interest in a property. And we have friends with a large house overlooking the Hudson River, which is used as a wedding venue. The town of Germantown has found it so problematic that they have imposed regulation restrictions on a number of events, number of weddings that can be held there, and the hours that they can be used for. There's a curfew, which unfortunately is not regularly observed. So I echo the concern that has been raised in the letter I just read about Mr. Radford's willingness to be considerate of his neighbours in regard to noise. My wife, Philip, has constantly been troubled by the barking of these dogs, which she feels are actually distressed. That no dog should be left barking hour on hour on hour. That's not the way these dogs are. So I would be very, very unhappy if you approved Mr. Radford's use of property for any wedding. Partly because of the noise concern, but also because of the safety we've already touched upon. I can imagine, 150 people having consumed a deal of alcohol, leaving Mr. Radford's property late at night onto this narrow dirt road where sightlines are very problematic and there are a number of blind spots. I think it's a nuisance. So I think the other things that Mr. Radford seems to be doing all seem very worthwhile. But I find it difficult to believe that he needs to hold weddings there in order to continue this worthwhile endeavor. And I hope you will not approve him for any wedding. So, thank you.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for your input. All of the room, this is the first one I saw.
Do you mind if I move this sign? That'd be all right, because I can't address you easily. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I was gonna.
Oh, no worries.
If you just state your name for the record, please.
Yeah. Yeah. Norma Jean Loftus, Poplar Rock Road. I know Ken and I'm very familiar with some of the things he's doing and I applaud him for some of the great work he does. I I have a couple thoughts I'd like to share. First, I also agree, with the comment made. I read the, notice in the paper, but, the only reason I'm here is I left a meeting in New York to get here on time, and a number of people I spoke with that called me said the same thing, like I cannot be there. So I guess I would say, I don't know your regulations and all the times, but I do think it's a little problematic. And I do think there should be another public hearing because of that. The other thing I'd like to mention is that I feel like there's no connection between weddings and agritourism. And I see why there's a benefit to share the good work he does, but I just don't see that connection, and I don't think that the way weddings are presented today, this would be something that is good for the neighbors and it's good for the town. And it is, clearly good for revenue, but I resist that, and I don't think we should think about doing that. And I would encourage you, quite honestly, to not allow that. I think restrictions are the only way to go, and I think they need to be around the number of people, but also the size of vehicles. I'm very concerned about Poplar Rock Road. I've stood in front of this commission many times. The ordinance was written to protect the road. And there's a bigger purpose with why we do that. And traffic on the road degrades the road. I walk this road weekly, and I've seen it change over times. And I lament often to myself and some friends that as much as our highway department works very, very hard, and I admire them for their work, there's some, geologic problems, geographical problems with the road. It's very difficult to control water and where it goes. It's difficult to lay new, fresh gravel when there's been storms, and then at the same time, really preserve the exact width it was when I moved in over 25 years ago. So the degradation of the road is a very serious concern I have. With regard to buses, I find it's just upsetting to think a standard sized bus should be on Poplar Rock Road. And any consideration for students, which I do love the idea of kids coming and learning about agriculture, I truly do. I think that has to be very severely restricted. And I feel that this process is a very, very good one. I'm encouraging you to give it more time. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you, and thank you for your work. I really do think it's great what you do.
Thank you for coming.
Just wanted to ask a question really quickly. What was the issue with the notice?
I read it in the newspaper on Friday when it came. So I was like, wow, okay, I've got business plans, so for me to get here would be really tough. So, getting notices out 2-3 weeks ahead of time can allow people to modify their plans. I wasn't able to do that.
Well, there were actually two notices. One was on the November 3rd, one was on November 10th. According to state law, I have to do them exactly according to the deadlines that the law requires.
Thank you. I figured there was regulations, and I figured I just didn't, maybe I wasn't around. That was it. I was traveling. I didn't see the paper first time it came out, but thank you very much.
Thank you. In the back.
Hi, my name is Gail Voorhees, and I live on the other side of Poplar Rock Road near the brewery.
Thank you for calling.
My concerns are several. One is I have 2 grandchildren across the road from me, and they're school age, and I worry about increased traffic on the road, and then coming back and forth across the road with increased traffic worries me. My other concern is, and I hadn't heard anybody else speak about that, there's wetlands on one part of the road with a wooden bridge that is not real stable, and it's fine for the amount of traffic that's on there now. But I would think that something would have to be done to support that in some way, and I don't know how you do that over the wetland areas and the impact that would have. And I got really concerned about Mr. Rappaport's suggestion of closing Pulpit Rock Road on the west end, because that's where I live. So in order for me to get home would increase my travel. I'd have to go all the way down to Meehan and come back on the road, and adding further traffic to the road where now I just have a short distance to travel.
Well, I'd just like to say that I don't necessarily think that that's Mr. Rappaport's idea.
Oh.
It's something that I've heard discussed within the town. And it is a problematic place. The best thing to do with that whole thing is to cut the corner off, right through the middle of Taylor Brook.
I agree. The bus stop, and
It's a problematic, if people don't make it around the corner, they're not even trying to go into Pulpit Rock Road, they just can't navigate the corner and they tear the guardrail down, so.
well, I sleep at night and I hear the bangs all the time when they crash into the.
I'm sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, so that's basically my concern, and I moved here from Colorado and to live on a scenic road, and it's just beautiful, and it breaks my heart to think that something, might alter this in any way. And I really appreciate the board's consideration of taking care of this treasure of a road that is, in Woodstock.
Thank you for your comments. I would like to add that times have changed, because I grew up on a fairly busy road. My mother used to say, go play in the traffic. Gentleman in the front.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
I'm biting my tongue because I have two dogs in the car waiting for me patiently. They're very comfortable and more comfortable than I am sometimes. My name is Peter Christo. I live on Meehan Road, 62 Meehan Road.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us here. I only found out about this yesterday. Somebody tucked a letter into my handle of my door. I don't have a post box, so I wasn't aware of this going on. But I am aware of when I purchased my home 24 years ago, similar to a couple other people purchased it 24 years ago, it seems like. Shortly after that, Mr. Rappaport had, I was in a meeting where they tried to build a development on Pulpit Rock. And I remember him vehemently opposing it based on the fact that that road is dangerous and won't support traffic. He was dead set against it. He had engineers come, which he paid, to be here and to explain how difficult it would be for people to navigate that road. And I came and said that I had driven down that road once towards Old Hall Road during the winter, and I'd never do it again. And I was in a four-wheel drive truck. Never do it again. I don't know why he thinks the road system has changed. It's not a place for a business that he's suggesting to put there. It's a very rural area. It's very difficult to get to. The road is extraordinarily difficult to maneuver. And for him to suggest that even one bus could make it up that road and get to that business without getting in trouble or getting stuck or having difficulty turning around or even navigating up at his dirt driveway, which he's got quite a grade change from the road up to his property. I wonder how he's gonna get a bus up there. I've seen it. I haven't gone because you can't trespass, it said, owned by invitation only. So I don't know who he's inviting, but it's certainly not the neighbors. I also am concerned about him just stating here that he wants to use Meehan Road as the preferred avenue of getting to his business. That upsets me because I purchased that property, 36 acres, a long time ago, to have peace and quiet, not to see tour buses come up or party vans come up and go to the most remote place in Woodstock that I can think of and party go at night. That's not what I signed up for, and I know that's not what my neighbor signed up for. On top of it, we have had in the past 3 or 4 years, on Meehan Road, new families moved in. We didn't have any children before. We have a considerable amount of children now. We have about 12 children that are in the elementary school age that just moved in within the past 3 years. The traffic going on Meehan Road, you think would be a dead end going to Pulpit. You'd think people would be going a leisurely pace. There was a time when I would be there and I would be there all day and I've yet to see 2 cars or 2 trucks go down that road. They zoom up that road. You never see them again. So I assume they're going to Mr. One of his scenarios or one of his little lectures or whatever he's having up there. But you see him and you don't see him come back. And we put signs there that say 15 miles an hour for children, because in one section, not even 500 feet of roadside, you have 12 children living there. That's a lot. And for him to suggest that that's going to be the avenue to get to his business so he can support his business venture at our expense is unheard of. We didn't sign up for this. We understand that he wants to do his farming. Nobody has a problem with that. If he can make money at farming, great. If he can't, maybe something else he needs to do. But when he started coming here and saying that what I saw was wedding venue. And then I drove by his house this morning and said wedding venue. And now he's here giving me, we're gonna have world famous chefs come here. We're gonna have tours. We're gonna have people from all different universities come and kids come. We have the Woodstock Fair. We have the Brooklyn Fair. I don't think there's anybody in this area that hasn't seen a chicken. Honestly, it's fair. So let's deal with what he's doing here. He wants to make a business venture. And this is not the spot for one. If he has the resources and the money, he can sell that property or lease it and buy something on a road that is more acceptable for something like that venture. And for his engineer to say, in Stonehouse wedding venues, that's on the corner of Route 6 and another road. There's no neighbors there. They're on Route 6. We are on a very, very impassable road with a very steep grade change and a very, very dangerous exit on 171. And I don't see how he can control that. And then you're gonna add with the weddings, you're gonna add liquor. I don't think there's one wedding that goes down without there being people there drinking. And some people are not gonna be able to hold their alcohol. And they're gonna be on those roads. He's suggesting that they're all gonna get onto one bus in some magical spot, drive up there, all 100 or 150 of them, get out, and then at the same time, get back in that bus and drive down. That's not what's gonna happen. They're gonna have people coming and going. And they're gonna be perhaps intoxicated, and they're gonna be party goers, and it's gonna be late into the night. We don't need that here. If he wants that, he can find potential property. He can get a realtor and find a potential property that would best suit it. That's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Amy Easier, Pulpit Rock Road, for allowing me to speak.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you all for what you do. I've pretty much everybody, but what I want to say has been said by other people, but I just wanted to reiterate that they're my concerns as well. My biggest concern is the public safety. Obviously the corner of 171 and Pulpit Rock Road, people being unfamiliar with turning there, even if, oh, before I start, I'm sorry, I do want to thank Mr. Rappaport for what he's doing with this farm. I think that education about nutrition is sorely needed in this country, and I greatly appreciate what he's doing in that regard. But I am concerned about some of the things that I'm hearing tonight. The public safety, the terrible corner 171 and Pulpit Rock Road. Even if you ask people to go on Meehan Road, people are going to use their GPS, and if they're coming from that, and they're going to come up Pulpit Rock Road from 171 anyway. And then of course, as this gentleman said, I'm concerned about the drinking at the wedding and then getting back in the car afterwards, as this gentleman just said.
I'm concerned also actually about, this might not be an issue, but I am concerned about emergency vehicles actually being able to get to guests of the weddings, because I'm not completely sure. I don't know if that was, looked into or not yet, but that's a concern. I'm concerned about the effect on the scenic road, with all the traffic. I'm concerned about the noise for the neighbors. I don't think it would probably be an issue, for me, the noise, but if I were a neighbor living right nearby, I would be very concerned about that. I greatly appreciate Mr. Rappaport's, goal of educating children, about nutrition and the importance of where we get, how our food is raised. But I don't think that weddings, is really a place where children are going to learn that. No, most times children aren't even invited to weddings. So I don't think that is, really a way that, children get about, farming and, nutritional eating. But I do, so the weddings are my biggest concern as well. And I want to thank Mr. Blodgett and Mr. Young for your, responsible, consideration of this, because I think that asking for, sincere numbers, and understanding each type of event, and its impact on the road and the neighbors individually is very important. And I just think that, issuing a blanket, permit, thank you, is not the way to go. I think taking a responsible approach and issuing a permit for each and every type of event that's going to happen is really, a better way of approaching this. So I appreciate that very much, that suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Hi, this is Jane Newell, also over Rock Road. I looked at a couple things. When I get concerned in this town, when we start to use the word farm as an adjective to put before whatever venture we want to do, be able to do, we are now calling it farming. And it may not necessarily be farming. For example, Devon Park Point Farm said they were doing a farm camp, right? Okay, that's great, educating the kids. Well, there's a whole bunch of state regulations about running an education camp that you have to actually comply to in order to call something. Yeah. So if you're having, people actually camping up there or landing up there, then you become a campground. There's a whole other regulation to become a campground. When you have Devonport Farm apply to have a wedding venue, I believe this committee, with the members, turned that down. So I think because they said you're a farm, not a wedding. So I think you have to be consistent in the way that you apply whatever regulations the town has on farms across the board. One farm can't be turned down and another farm is accepted when you're putting together some kind of wedding venue. I also agree with some of the comments that were stated earlier. This is very vague in terms of what the plans are. In terms of number, there's not really a traffic impact study, whether you're talking about Hook Rock Road or Meehan. Meehan is supposed to be a 30-mile-an-hour road for those that take walks there or walk their dogs there or whatever. It's not, it's racetrack now. Coming back. So then again, the GPS, as was pointed out, you're not getting directed through that area necessarily. There you're going to be coming, if you're coming up 169, you're going to be going up the first particle to get Mr. Rappaport's place. So I would say if you're going to do something, you really have to limit the scope. You're going to have to put requirements, have pay their constables or state police if you're having alcohol involved on some of those management things, and saying, well, I might do it if we need it, isn't really a commitment to.
Thank you. there anyone else who'd like to speak?
I've already spoken with my mayor, I have a question. Which if you were to grant,
The monitor, it's not something you're going to. Follow.
yes, it is a different, and it's a question really, it is about
Say your name again, please.
Garth Evans, Pocket Rock Road.
Thank you.
If you were to grant, Mr. Rappaport a permit with a limited, number of events permitted and with other restrictions, placed upon it, how would those restrictions be monitored and enforced?
Well, that's a very good question. In recent weeks, we've spoken about that. Sometimes making a regulation about something. Very hard to enforce, so that is a good question.
Yes, and I mean, frankly, I'm not confident that I would put the draft law to observe whatever constraints you put on it.
And again, I think that some of the other commissioners have stated that Mr. Rappaport's intentions may be very, very good. The permit will, if granted, go with the name. So, if someone else were to acquire that, it could be an issue.
I'd like to address two of the recent comments. So enforcement would have to be done by the zoning officer. And if they find a violation, they would have to follow up with that, the whole process. They can get legal if necessary. If required, they can go to the town, who may then go to the court. I'm not the zoning officer anymore, so I can't state for certain because I don't even work for the town. I work for the council government, but I'm provided as the town planner. But it would be handled by the zoning enforcement officer. And I wanted to go back to the point you made about Devon Point Farm and their wedding proposal. They never applied for a special permit, so they were not denied a special permit for that. So they came and asked about it, but as agriculture, they were not, it was not determined to be part of agriculture. But Mr. Rappaport's application is not as agriculture, it's for beyond that. That's what this application is all about. So if you were approved, it's not sort of violating agriculture because it's to propose more than agriculture. Thanks for clarification.
And sorry, I just want to make sure, I just want to make sure that, is there anyone attending?
Like Gianna has.
Via Zoom?
Probably gonna mute yourself. If you want to speak.
Gianna, if you have your hand up and you'd like to speak.
I think that was my mouse that was over the screen.
Oh.
She's been waiting patiently.
Is there anyone online who would like to speak? Okay, hearing none.
I just wanted to make sure something she said about Devon Point, Peter Bristow and 60 million. You mentioned Devon, I'm not sure what the name was before the cider factory is there now, the previous owner. That has easy access on Joy Road, on a paved road. It's very easy to get in, very easy to get out. The egress on Pulpit Rock was never really used that much by that owner. No, it couldn't be. Maybe one or two people would go up there to get a pumpkin or something during the fall and cider, and that would be the end of it. But that's a completely different scenario. That place would be more appropriate for a venue that he's suggesting. There's a lot of other places that are more, there's the places on the market on Route 169 you could purchase. It would be more suitable for this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
Laura Curley, 58 Pulpit Rock Road.
thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for all your hard work. I can't, as an educator, what Ken is trying to accomplish and do is just fantastic. The only concern I have is our road is
sometimes there's opportunities on traversing that road. And it hasn't changed in the 20 some odd years that I've lived on it. And we have, people have slid off the road, my husband's helped to get them out, we had someone flip over. So if you're not familiar with that road, and I'm away from here, so I'm on the Old Hall side. And, where the washboard is as you're going up. And, I'm just thinking, if you have people that are attending the event, and the, more than any number of cars, but, when you're coming home and it's dark at night, it's really hard to travel that road safely. And if you're not familiar, you're gonna end up, just having issues. So I think it's more the safety of the people that are attending that, function maybe. As far as maybe the idea of maybe starting small and seeing what happens, but that road is difficult. And then someone had mentioned, oh, what about mud season or whatever, and one of the first years we moved there, we had left our car at the bottom of the hill off Old Hall and walked home a couple of nights so you can't get through. So I do worry about, someone mentioned ambulance and fire. And again, it's not a paved road. That's my only concern, really, safety of traversing that road. People that aren't familiar with it, again, thank you for all you do. 50 years ago, when I was a student teacher in East Hartford, my classmate was from Woodstock. So thank you to the Woodstock farmers that hosted, I don't know, we had probably 75 students that went up to a farm that was working, and we were educating kids from East Hartford. So trying to get people that are familiar with agriculture and farming has been a long process. So I'm glad you're willing to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any commissioners?
Just to follow up, there was one comment you made, Ken, and the program is talking about camping and glamping. Perhaps at some point in the future, building yurts for permanent type camping arrangement. Is that still something envisioned as an application or a revenue generator?
There was some conversation that meant people that are working to say they thought about setting. I don't think permanent tents, would be more like kind of they'd be erected up, for a season, for a certain period of time. Again, it's very ill defined, and I think what it coming out of this could define more exactly. Tone it down a little bit. Not that we I guess going in special because it is so loose. We wanted to include, I guess, everything that I possibly wanted to, and I'd be more than willing to, look, I safety of the road and all that's certainly critical. My recollection of back in the development, there was some driving was, but I think again it's environmental. My perspective, but one of the things I think we could look at is, again, seasons, when they would be, what size they would be, all of that. So I would say no, there's no envision putting these things up at this point. There's people that come up and say, can we camp out, right? So the people, and we're running a B&B up there. I've done it pre-COVID. We're playing around with that. Some people, hey, I don't want to stay inside. I want to camp out here. You front lawn or wherever else. Yeah, I suppose we did let them. That would be something similar to that.
Would it be better?
Oh, sorry, no.
Would it be beneficial to you to take some more time to consider some options and perhaps get a firmer presentation for this special permit with your understanding that modification to the special permit at a future time could allow other activities to take place? It would have to go through a public hearing for modification to the special permit, but at least it would give a sense that you're trying to work with some of the concerns you heard tonight, and I think some concerns that the commission might have.
Yeah, we were talking about going back and looking at some of those things, sure.
Yeah, Ken and I have had some quiet conversation on that throughout the evening. To better define perhaps the number of events and seasons and things of that nature. So you've got something concrete to hang your hat on there. We certainly have no objection to that.
I guess that's to kind of to jump ahead of what Joe, same lines, could we, at this point, make a motion to extend this hearing to another night? And with the draft board, an opportunity to come back with something that might cover many of the concerns, maybe not all of them, but, more downsides thing. Rediscuss it and give us an opportunity to get a better handle on whether we should. So.
That's a motion. It sounded like it was a motion.
It was a motion and then I really
That could-
an open-ended motion. If you want it, let's do it. If you don't, and I guess second would be the first step.
Yep.
Second step, the first.
Motion to continue the public hearing. Say until December 14th by my calendar, right? So this thing calendar.
21.
Oh, yeah. December 23rd at 7:45, I presume.
Sure. Okay, second.
Motion by Kim Young to continue the public hearing. To December 21st at 7:45, seconded by Joe Allen. Julie has a letter before we move on to that. Julie has a letter that.
So
What we want, wants to be read into the record by the person that wrote the letter.
So, Doug Porter, a member of the commission, but he's recused himself from this application. He has submitted a written statement that he requests to be read into the record. He's not here. It states, I am very concerned with the event facility proposed at 211 Public Rock Road. My concern is for the safety of the people who will be attending the event site, for the safety of all property owners on Public Rock Road and for people who travel on Route 171. Public Rock Road is a winding gravel path that travels from Route 171 on the west to Hall Road on the east. The road connects Route 171 and a very dangerous curve where numerous accidents have occurred. The Planning and Zoning Commission denied a special permit for a Woodstock Country Store to relocate their store to Public Rock Road. Since the event facility proposed in this application will have a much greater traffic impact than the Woodstock Country Store, I hope that the commission will also deny the permit to protect public safety. Until a traffic light is installed at the intersection of Public Rock Road and Route 171, any commercial activity that generates additional traffic on this road needs to be discouraged. Thank you for your consideration, Doug Porter.
Thank you, Julia. Now, motion on the table, is there any discussion on the motion on the table? Very good. Does that give, about 4 times?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I mean,
Just open the hearing tonight. Didn't have time.
Yeah, no, but I mean, that's, I just want to make sure. Yeah, no, not us, I wanted to, that's what I wanted.
Scheduled for the 21st, but then postponed it if the applicant needs more time. Does he need to notify by a certain date, Julia, that it's. Is that all?
Well, you could have the meeting on the 21st, and if he's not ready, then we can.
As far as advertising.
We don't have to advertise again.
Okay, because it's just people. More discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's what passes.
Can I just have clarification on who's seconding, because I thought it was Joe. Thank you.
Can I just have a quick question before too many people leave about notification? For a special permit, it's the formal notifications go out to the butters of the property.
I'm gonna be reviewing that and I'll report back to the next.
Okay, but it didn't look like certain people here are actual butters to that property. Hence, no specific mailing goes to non-abutters. It's just posted, as Delia said, a notice on the property talking about a public hearing. But it's on the town website and the P and Z agenda items
It's in the newspaper.
and the newspaper.
Is there also a way to notify those people on the
The
end of
public hearing is technically tabled until August first. It's not something pertaining to the public hearing. It's like it's named hearing, like you have to say, but if it's something.
stuff that they can notify, perhaps. He mentioned today, that once you notice the instructor, that if they could notify the people on the road, because I've just found out about it this morning.
As really spoke to it, it's not.
Yeah.
But that's why it goes to the paper, so. People not of butters that have the opportunity to.
Thank you.
That's real. So, brings us to. Agenda item 6, new business, which is. No, very good. That brings us to agenda item 7, old business. Old business will be. Permit number 6590923, Woodstock and Associates, 94 Plainville Road, 3-lot subdivision. What is the will of the commission?
I move we approve the application with all.
If you could include the bond amount.
And do we have any, we're waiting to see if design professionals is accepting the response from the applicant?
Will you close the hearing so we can get any more information?
You know, part of the acceptance was that the applicant would comply with any recommendations that may come from design professional based on response. And the applicant responded to design professional, but there was no response back from design professional saying that they're okay. What was said.
But you close the hearing, so there's no more back and forth. It doesn't happen.
Well,
It's a condition.
I waited for the application.
Can we get input from our staff, which professionals type is?
They couldn't submit any new information. They can only answer what's already been provided.
There's this like disconnect with some missing information, and I'm hesitant to approve it until we're sure our consultant engineers.
Fully satisfied.
Yeah.
To do with public hearings, condition of.
So what's the specific things that you're looking for?
During,
I forget your name. I'm sorry. Said that he responded to the design professionals, he hadn't heard anything back. So that we don't know if design professionals is happy with his responses, which I'm sure they probably are. I mean, I think we saw him in an email. But I just wanted to make approval contingent on design professional acceptance. His response.
You know what happens or not?
It's approval is conditional on it. No, it's not approval on it. We have to have, I don't want to make them have to have a public hearing. I just want to try to get them so they can move forward.
although the applicant did say they would comply with any feedback from.
Yeah, that's, I just wanted to make sure that that's
Part of the.
part of it.
Yeah.
So that we don't have cross wires here. We can prove that the professional says we weren't happy, but they have not got that.
As long as they're addressing written comments we've already received, I think they can respond to that. It's not limitation.
Right.
In the future, if they're waiting for information to close the hearing.
Motion by David Moore. Well, accept the application. With the conditions that design professionals agrees with what they proposed. New,
Provided they do,
yeah.
and they're requiring that they agree. You can't tell them what to say, so then.
David, why don't you make the motion again.
Move that we accept the proposal pending agreement from design professionals. Parents' responses.
Is there a second?
And the bond amount.
And the bond.
And the bond.
And the inland waterway. Oh,
Anyone in the waterway.
Documentation.
Move, just put it out in one. Did you get that, Amy? Seconded by Dean Gould.
That which is going to pick that on. Clear.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Nay.
Noted that appears to pass. You get all that other stuff, Mr. Parent, and building office. Sorry. Land use office, take care of what they need to do at the beginning. Thank you. Yeah. Trying to emulate the guy that used to sit here. That brings us to the next order of old business, which continues. Permit number 660-23. Food stocks at Pinkerton Farm, 211 Boulder Rock Road. We all know we continue the public hearing to December 21st. Agenda item 8, review of home occupation permit applications, if any. Did not see any. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I didn't see any of them.
Non-residential zoning permits, if any. Not seeing any votes either. Brings us to agenda item 10, which we're not going to do tonight, we're going to do the first meeting of December. Should say that we're not gonna have the annual meeting, but I would like to discuss and approve the 2024 meeting days so we can get that on the calendar. I think we're supposed to have it 30 days ahead of time, is that correct, Julia?
Yeah,
And
I think I can find that what's for you.
if we did it on December 7th, that would not give us 30 days, I don't think, to get to our meeting in January 4th. So. The only, Julia's gonna pull it up. It was supposed to be in the packet. I painstakingly wrote it all down myself.
And kept it.
No, I sent it to Julia sent it somewhere else and then it didn't get. It's the packet.
Okay, you know, yeah,
Everyone would take a look at their calendars if you could. I know one issue is Independence Day falls on a Thursday in July. This year it's on the 4th, actually. So we can move it, I think, to the 11th, or we can just not have a meeting that planning meeting. I didn't see any other conflicts. Maybe somebody else.
my, search. For some reason I can't search his email, it comes up with two emails, one from 2019 and one from 2020. You know what it's called, or could you send it to me again? Like, I'm having trouble finding it.
Is there any way you can send us this calendar that you composed? So we're supposed to, so we can take a look at it, except for on a phone with this little tiny writing.
I wanna show it up there. The search
But
function. is-
basically, I mean, we're going with the first and third Thursdays,
Yeah.
unless we've got another, unless. So July would be an issue.
You know the date, and
Probably in the last 30 years. There was a day where the conference. Friday.
don't look at the screen.
Yeah, I think all
Maybe
of
one
them.
thing that-
And we can always be changed.
Right.
But we find those. Are we approving just all of the first and third Thursdays, with the exception of July?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Nice, we'll have a meeting on the first.
You know, we put that on until it's fall. Very long.
So with July, would we have it on the 11th and then the 18th, or do we?
We can do that if we want. We can not have. The other conflict was Rosh Hashanah on October 24th. I'm sorry, October 30th.
You just write the one, if I have, you know.
And we just approve the first and third, and then we can amend them as. Yeah. Then it can get published.
Please take notes of those, let me find it, was there anything we wanted for?
Fourth, which thing?
July 4th.
What is July? Line rate saying that, yes, you will.
Yeah.
Even a blind squirrel finds it.
So did you wanna have pick a different date in July, or just leave it for the one week?
Anyone has a problem with that for the third? Oh, with that, okay.
The only change is July 4th.
Yep.
I can make it.
We can like work on that. The rest of them. the first, third.
You could make a motion about that. And do the rest of everything for them.
I move we need a motion. Yes, please. Move that we set the calendar. For have them hold our meetings on the first, third Thursday every month, with the exception of July, which will be on the third Thursday.
Second.
7:30. Who's the second? Joe?
I second.
Motion by Mark Blackburn to have a meeting on first Thursday, business meeting, third Thursday. 2024, except for July 4th, there will be no planning meeting, business meeting.
You have to stipulate at 7:30 or just a date you need?
Just the date.
We can.
Let's go with that. Business meeting on July 18th. Is there any discussion? We discussed it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That's passes. Thank you, everyone. The meeting discuss what we'd like to do, schedule the annual legal training. Everybody, I don't know.
So it's gonna take a couple days to get.
Probably closer to March.
Usually put in the first of the day.
It's not too long.
March 7th or April 4th. Thursday.
You're gonna have to make it.
I was just thinking.
Date.
Yeah. I know those two. Packet. Yeah. Stuff about the standard conservation and development and update, and maybe we can all do that for our next meeting, we talk about it that next meeting, just getting clean. Everybody is good with that, we'll move on to the Eagle report. There's on your packet. Going to ask about a couple of things I asked about. Meeting. Relative to see there's some shit. Trees. I guess they're in the display or thing there. Looks like they're in the display area. Can't see them. Correct.
So there's one thing. Sold.
There is a bill that I need to approve, but I need everybody else's approval. The design professional fees for the review of the subdivision. Move to approve there, that will second.
I get passed on, yeah.
Yeah.
Someone's supposed to write it in, to do that, I don't know who can do it. And-
Like that.
Motion by Joe Adaletta, second by David Morris to read or approve this. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Are there any citizens' comments not pertaining to anything we've already discussed this evening?
Mr. Chair.
Yes. Ladies before gentlemen, please state your name.
Laura Curley,
Thank you.
58 Public Rock Road and 29 Hiawatha Heights, Lake Bundy. So my question is, on the zoning enforcement officer, at the lake. This is the second hand that I've heard this, so I apologize for that, but that's one of the reasons I presented the question. In our deed restrictions at the lake, as a property owner, it has sidelines of 8 feet that have been in place for, I guess, since 1958, when the restrictions were reported. And there is apparently a new construction. I don't think it's an addition, although there's been a lot of additions. And the homeowner was at the 8-foot sideline. And the zoning officer had said, you know, and I don't know if the minimum was 10 or I don't think it was the 25 that we have in the community district. I don't know for sure. But can someone just help me with that? On the deed restrictions and, you know, we have sidelines of 8 and have always had sidelines of 8 that have been asked for permits that we approved. And then the road was 25 feet and from the lake it's 25 feet. So is that how I just don't know. Is it correct, not correct? Is the zoning officer unsure? I know he's not necessarily new to town, so just need help.
I'm not exactly sure what your question is.
I don't really know what the question is.
Sorry.
The question is, we have deed restrictions, and we have sidelines of 8 feet. So we build homes or we have additions and it's 8 feet. The towns are 20 feet, I believe. Sure. And the zoning officer recently had said that they weren't, it wasn't acceptable. So obviously,
So somebody,
did you hear that?
someone building something there, that's that.
Apparently.
Okay.
They have a building permit, they're building something. I don't know if they already built it, I don't know if the foundation's in, honestly. I'm not familiar, other than I heard this, and there was concern with some of the lake members. You that were talking to me. And I said, well, I don't know, why would it change, or why would it not be accepted now? After,
Possibly Delia can answer the question.
So I'm no longer the zoning officer, but I was from 2006 to 2018. And so I'll go back to refer to the zoning regs. I don't know what zoning officer may or may not have said. It was part of any discussion. But when you said the zoning officer at the lake, did you mean the Lake Association zoning person?
no,
Town?
it's a town, I'm sorry, yeah, the town.
The Lake District in the zoning regulations currently have a front setback from any state highway, town street, or private road, is referred to as the front setback of 20 feet, a 10-foot setback for the side setbacks, and 20 foot setback for the rear setback. So if your lake association deed restrictions are different than that, they allow 8, that's not in compliance with the zoning regulations.
Okay.
So you can't allow something that's more lenient than zoning.
Right.
New, old structures that
I
are
guess
there don't have.
I guess
to
it's-
move, but new structures do have to. comply with the regulations.
So, all right. So I guess the homeowner now needs to not deed restrictions that belong to that property, but then report back. To the town.
So when they got a permit, that should have been explained to them by the zoning officer. If they don't have a question, they should go and, get clarification from the zoning officer.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I would just like to welcome a bit person who won the planning and zoning that position, Dr. John Day, which looking forward to seeing him up here and enjoying this lively conversation that maybe the next meeting after he gets sworn in and come on board.
Judy actually swore me in this week,
Oh, she did. Okay.
so I don't know whether she was supposed to or not. But she was excited to swear me.
Well, technically swearing in is fine, but unfortunately. There were two members that are no longer on the commission, well, they are still on the commission, but they didn't run for the question, and their term hasn't ended yet. So. Had they resigned and.
Which is why I'm sitting here.
And then you and Aaron had got appointed. We decided tonight, I was fully ready to have you reseated. I got your name, place, meeting and everything. But then an email went around and it's from Judy, but I changed what it said that the term didn't end to the 21st, so. But I welcome John and another public forum.
Well, you did. Okay. Can you share what forum that was?
It was at the Woodstock Academy finding the candidates night.
Why?
So. And yes, John, welcome to. Thank you. Look forward to it. Putting you somewhere up here, not sure. Yes.
Couple everyone.
Like old bird cowards, just creatures of habit.
There's something back sticking on
Yeah. John, I don't know if this has been brought up to you, I brought it up. It's in your packet. The land use commissioner basic training.
So I signed up for that one.
Good.
The one at UConn, you gonna send something out about that?
I probably did.
There's one that we're doing, NACOG, where I work, sponsoring it, Cuttings Fun Hall.
Yep. I'm signed up for that.
Separate one. That's.
Down in Hampton.
You can go to that one if you want. It's in person now, and it's on a Saturday, I think.
Saturday.
Okay.
So
And it's actually a good one.
that's gonna be 4 hours, so that would provide a lot more, probably all of your required training. But there are other opportunities if you wanted to go online, there's a lot of the training online that you can guys do. Did it, and David did it.
The one down there sounds simple and straightforward and in person. So.
And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me to go over whatever your questions are.
Okay.
In terms of if you missed a meeting, say if there was a pending application, the next meeting, you can only participate if you listen to the recording and gone through all of the materials in the application.
Okay.
So for tonight's meeting on the Woodstock Associate, their application had not been approved tonight. At the next meeting, because you missed all the previous meetings, you wouldn't be able to participate unless you've gone to listen to the recording to review it.
On the training, the board, for 1.5. Is that every year?
Oh, I don't know if they'll be,
That, I mean, are we required, every year we're required?
Yes.
I think so.
Now, so there's one on November, is that the calendar year?
This training that we're holding, we haven't decided to do it annually. But
I
we're gonna be
I would
trying.
consider that rolling 12, Mark.
But, well, that's what I, you know, so with the land use, or with participated in the land use one. They went over on the other, so we get the full hour on that. So we're set for the year.
2024.
So that's what my question is, so what are the dates that it roll over? You know,
Oh, I
very
see.
credits ahead, or is it have to be done in this calendar
I
year?
don't know.
Where does that?
I'm sure the state is keeping very accurate track.
I think it would be a good idea if you could attend the
Yeah.
meeting. If you're planning one on multifamily housing, you just haven't set the date for it yet. And so that is a list of what could be discussed that fulfills the requirement for affordable housing, and that's one of the things. So when we have that event, it will be a regional event, and because I'll be part of planning it, I'll first share the date with you and all the other towns. And you can go about.
Right timeframes that you carry over. Good.
Well, I look at it.
I mean, I agree, dealing with that, I plan on that. But it's like, well, so if we get 8 hours in 1 year. Do we get all this, do we get credit for this?
People that, just got elected, I would think this 29th will be part of next year. That's all. There are 4 handouts as well. Legislative updates on the use application, special tax and districts running through the statutory process. FOIA response deadline, I think there's a FOIA. Might already happened.
It's the 30th.
This one, oh, so that was what it was, there were 2 meetings there. So there is a FOIA meeting, 6:30 to 8, I think, is what, 7, 8? During the day.
It's a night.
Okay, so if anybody wants to attend the FOIA meeting as well, it's here on 30th. Sometime-
7 to 8.
Sometime 7 to 8. Oh, and that brings us to agenda item 16.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
I just want to comment about we had the 2 public hearings. And parents who sit through lengthy public hearing, but I wonder in the future if that happens, could we just schedule that we vote on that one motion, because when we, especially when you know it's going to be a lengthy public hearing.
It's in your bylaws, you might have to do bylaws.
On the agenda, so that you could do a vote on one public hearing, especially when it's something simple. When we know, when this parent sitting here for an hour and a half, charging his client.
Yeah, but you only actually closed the public hearing that we started. Yeah, we were actually out of public hearing.
Anyway.
Right, well, that's what I said, we had both of one.
I closed, so we are technically speaking out of public hearing.
We don't often have 2
That
public
was
hearings.
good to add an agenda item to, can add an agenda item for special.
You can have this.
So, like, technically, we can.
Could we change the order?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah,
vote.
there's no-
I can.
We did tonight. It's just something to consider. I mean, it's not, it doesn't happen very often. You know,
I agree, I thought a lot of this stuff.
And because we moved things on we've done that in one night.
that's it.
Good idea, David.
And I just want to thank Delia for getting those flyers out for the 4 comments you were talking about.
The funny
Land
thing is,
use
you guys
application.
asked me about it, and then the next day, poof in my email, I didn't even ask for it, and they came in like the universe sent them to me.
Well, I
You give me credit when
you did so much hard work and appreciate it.
So, take the receiving.
Motion to adjourn by Timmy on somebody else second that. Who's that? Aye, seconded by Mark Blackman. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Pamela.